Dean Workman here for ITNewsAfrica.com at the Gartner Symposium being held at the CTICC. Today we're with Keith Fenner, the VP Sage Enterprise for the Middle East Africa region, and we'll be discussing how IoT impacts leadership within organizations. How are you doing today, Keith?
Good, Dean, yourself?
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Keith, IoT has been singled out as a scale accelerator for businesses. Do you think African leaders are taking advantage of this?
Certainly not. I think what's happened historically is it's a very expensive project, and I think that's where the confusions come in. So you had very few vendors, very expensive machines which kind of contain sensors and the other IoT things like the actuators and whatever that drives the data. And we're just starting to see those things decouple. So we're starting to see sensors become prevalent in the market that are disconnected to the machines, which then means we can start building at a cost point that is better for Africa. And I think that's going to start to be the turning point that we'll see over the next 12 to 24 months.
So you pointed out the cost point. What more can be done to take advantage of it?
Well, the problem is you've got today is, let me give you a great example. So you've got lots of machines that are being built, whether it's a Bell, whether it's a Massey Ferguson tractor or a combine harvester, if you think of smart agriculture, and each vendor is putting their own sensors in their own machines. Now, what do you do with that data? You put it to your own data cloud. Then what do you say to ERP vendors like us? You say, well, hang on, you've got to go and collect all these different data points from all these different data clouds, kind of pull it together, push data in and out of ERPs to make decisions or generate analytical information for customers. That's pretty expensive. That's difficult to do. So we're starting to now see that you can actually, as I say, put the sensors to connect to what we call the edge, and then consolidate that data to sort of, if you think of it like a workflow framework, business decision framework, that will either push to an ERP or push to a system to make a decision, or just push up for data and reporting. So it's starting to happen, and timeframes are becoming a lot shorter, which is the expense in the project.
So Keith, you touched on there, the timeframes. A lot has been made about how fast scaling up can be done. What more do you think companies can do to increase that?
Yeah.
And are we as South Africans keeping up with the rest of the world in this regard?
No, I mean, listen, we're nowhere near. So the first problem is, of course, you need connectivity, right? So therefore, your Wi-Fi and your consistent networks need to be there. Your cost of data is expensive if you're then not connected to the Wi-Fi. So then you've got those challenges. Because at the end of the day, if you're not connected, there is no data point for IoT. So I think what you're seeing is, as I say, is if you can get the sensors disconnected, you have this edge connectivity at a price point that works. You could probably start to look at 6 to 8 week timeframes for projects to deliver some level of IoT, whether maybe that's a drone spraying environment in a farm, or right now, of course, with the water crisis, some sort of sensor-based technology in the irrigation to really try and keep that to an absolute minimum. Those projects you can knock off quite quickly. So I think you've moved from this sort of challenge of saying I need to IoT the whole business, which is like any business process, whether it's a CRM system or whether it's a totally reinvention of a business process. You can't do everything at once. So you need to pick off what you can chew. So these little IoT projects can become relevant, give a return on investment, everyone becomes happy that there's that return, and then you build upon that. So I see them as small iterations. So I think the framework's there now, I think the products are there now, I think the vendors are there now. It's a question of convincing and getting a few of customers like ours, like our other colleagues here, to start that journey with our customers and say, let's try a 6 to 8 week project. Let's not say it's going to be 12 months. And I think we'll start to see that now.
And is it difficult to convince them to get started on these projects?
It's quite interesting. When you have the conversation, their gut reaction is, show me the benefit, show me the return. So we would put them in what I would call the conservative box, all right? I mean, you have these different boxes of digital leadership. And the conservatives are the ones that have probably trialed something, probably didn't really define a project very well, therefore the return was a bit sketchy, therefore you don't get the buy-in. All right, I mean, we have that term of failing fast in IoT, right? So that's quite interesting. So we need to get what I call the conservatives to try a little bit harder. So we're working with IoT vendors, we're working with big data clouds, our own analytics clouds, and it's our job to go to those customers. But guess what? I need to educate not only the customer, I need to educate our partners, our colleagues around the world to talk about IoT in this way. And I think it's really a journey that's just starting.
So Keith, how important are events such as the Gartner Symposium in educating people about IoT?
Yeah, vital, isn't it? I mean, you walk around today, a lot of the vendors are talking about IoT. I see data centers, data cloud providers. You look at Microsoft stand. I mean, everybody's talking about the journey. A lot of CIOs, aren't they, kicking around? A lot of IT directors starting to try and educate themselves to become more digital. I mean, it's that journey for them from CIO to CDO. And data scientists, another great role that we see coming now. So without this education, it won't kickstart the initiative. So we want the small projects, we want to get going, and we want to prove returns for the businesses in Africa.
Keith, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Pleasure, thank you.